Hello everybody, welcome to YouTube channel Enrich Your Biology. Previously we did respiratory system in human being, and today we will do the circulatory system, or you can say blood vascular system in a human being. So what is circulation? Why it is required? You know, we take food, that food is digested inside the body by the digestive system and ultimately absorbed by the small intestine through microvilli. And that food is then oxidized by oxygen at the cellular level to produce the energy and for synthesis of substances required in the body. And waste products, that is carbon dioxide, etc., it is to be removed, otherwise it is harmful to the body. Now the question arises, through the digestive system food has been digested and absorbed, through the respiratory system oxygen has been taken inside and carbon dioxide has been released out, and their oxidation process occurs at the cellular level. Now the question arises, how these substances in the body, they are transported at the cellular level and from the cellular cells to the other parts and then to the outside as well. So transporting the material required in transportation, they are different, and depending upon the habitat of the organism as well as the level of organization. So in case of coelotrate and sponges, water is the medium of transportation. Water currents enter inside the body along with the water stream, food particles as well as oxygen, you can say air is taken inside, and through the water current which goes outside, carbon dioxide and waste products are released. So water is the medium for transportation in the lower organism. In still higher organism, a specific substance is present which help in the circulation of the transportation of the materials, these substances, and that is the blood. In still higher organism, most highly organized organism, highly developed organism, including human being, blood along with lymph is also takes part in the transportation, summer transportation. So I told you that in coelotrates and sponges, water is the medium for circulation, for transportation. In annelids, blood, and then still higher invertebrates, arthropod and mollusk also blood, and invertebrates also it is the blood. So in vertebrate, there should be some pumping organ to transport, release the substances into the vessels to transport, and that pumping organ is heart. That is the heart. So heart pumps out the blood. It receives the blood and it pumps out to get it transferred to the different parts of the body through blood vessels. So, I told you in classification in in vertebrates, fishes, that is Pisces, they have two-chambered heart. First is upper chamber is auricle and lower chamber is the ventricle. And blood is received in the auricle and impure blood is received in the auricle, and it is then moved into the ventricle. From the ventricle, blood goes to the gills. Gills are the respiratory organs in case of fish, in case of Pisces. So blood goes into the gills where it is oxygenated, and oxygenated blood is transported to all the parts of the body. It does not go towards heart. Oxygenated blood doesn't go towards heart. It does not it is not poured into the heart. Such type of circulation of blood is called as the single circulation. And in case of amphibians and reptiles, except the crocodile is a reptile, heart is three-chambered. Upper two auricles are the atria and lower one is the ventricle. In case of crocodile, no doubt heart is four-chambered, but in all amphibians and other reptiles, it is three-chambered. So impure blood is received into the right atrium. Pure blood is received into the left atrium. Both of these, the atrium and ventricles, they are separated by the septa and they are having the openings. Both of these, they pass into the ventricle. So in the ventricle, there is mixed blood. And you can say this mixed blood is then supplied to the organs by blood vessels. So in this case, incomplete double circulation is there. Then in case of mammals, aves and crocodile, four-chambered heart is there. Upper two atria are the auricles, lower one are the ventricles, separated by the septum and connected by the valves. You can tricuspid, bicuspid valve. And in this case, pure blood is received into the left atrium and impure blood is received into the right atrium. From the right atrium, the blood is poured into the left atrium. Impure blood is poured into the left atrium. Then from the right atrium, it is poured into the right atrium, and from the left, pure blood is moved into the left atrium. So on the right side, impure blood is received in the atrium, and that moves into the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, blood is taken to the lungs for purification. And when the blood is purified, it is then moved into the left auricle. From the auricle, it moved into the ventricle. From the ventricle, it moves into the aortic arch, which supplies pure blood to all parts of the body. Such type of circulation. When two times the blood comes into the heart, one is pure blood, other is impure blood, and there is a circulated and to other, it is called as the double circulation. So the component which the fluid substance I told you which help in transportation is the blood, and heart is the pumping organ. It forces the blood into the required vessels for transportation. And now we'll do circulatory system in human being. In human being, circulatory system consists of transporting medium, that is blood and somewhat lymph also. Pumping organ is heart, which is four-chambered, and blood vessels. Blood vessels which carry the pure blood, and they come out of the heart to supply the blood to all organs. Those are called as the arteries. Except except pulmonary artery, all blood arteries, they carry the pure blood. So the vessels which arise from the heart, which move out from the heart, they are called as the arteries. And blood vessels which come into the heart and pour blood into the heart, those are called as the veins. And there are further branches, veins, veinlets, venules, etc. So I'm to say it consists of heart is the pumping organ, and blood is the transporting fluid, and blood vessels They are the closed vessel which transport the materials to blood at the lymph. So, and I told you blood vessels, they are of two types, capillaries and veins. Blood vessels coming out of the heart, they are arteries. Vessels coming into the heart, they are veins. All arteries except pulmonary artery contain pure blood. All veins except pulmonary vein contain the impure blood. What does it mean? It means pulmonary vein has pure blood and pulmonary artery has impure blood. So now we come to the composition of the blood and the lymph. Blood is a fluid, fluid substance. It has two parts, fluid matrix and suspended solid particles. So in the fluid matrix, it is a kind of connective tissue, modified connective tissue. You can say specialized connective tissue. So fluid matrix is called as the plasma. Suspended particles, solid particles, they are called as the formed elements. Plasma forms the 55% of the blood. And formed elements, they form the 45% of the blood. Plasma itself contains 90 to 92% of water and 6 to 8%, you can say 8 to 10% as proteins and some other substances. So in plasma, the proteins which are present, those are fibrinogen, globulin, and albumins. Fibrinogen, they are responsible for clotting of the blood. Globulins, they are defensive in function. They provide defense. They are the defense mechanism of the blood. And albumins, they impart osmotic balance to the blood. So in the plasma are present some minerals, calcium ions, magnesium ions, sodium ions, chloride ion, bicarbonate ions. They are also present in the plasma. So this is all about plasma. Then we come to formed elements. Formed element, I told you, it constitutes 45% of the blood. There are three types. Red blood corpuscles, which are shortly they are called as RBC, white blood corpuscle, WBC, and platelets. They are also called as thrombocytes. Red blood corpuscles, they are most numerous in the blood. And in 1 cubic millimeter of blood of human being, 5 million to 5.5 million RBC are present. They are much numerous and they are in abundance. They are denucleated. Thus, these cells, they are biconcave. They have the age of 120 days only. After that, they get disintegrated, they get destroyed in the spleen. And spleen is also called the graveyard of RBC. And these RBC, they have a special pigment which is called the hemoglobin. It is proteinaceous structure. This hemoglobin has very great affinity with oxygen. So hemoglobin, it is a carrier of oxygen. It carries the oxygen from the alveoli through blood and transport to the tissue level. And 97% of oxygen is carried by the RBC, that is by the hemoglobin. And 3% oxygen is transported by the plasma. So RBC, where they are formed in the red bone marrow. They are formed on the red bone marrow. So one hemoglobin molecule, it carries about 4 molecules of oxygen. and 100 milliliter of blood of human being carries approximately 5 milliliter of the oxygen. So this is all about RBC. And in a normal human being, their concentration is 12 to 14 milligram per 100 milligram of the blood. Then we come to WBC. WBC, white blood corpuscles, they are colorless. These cells are colorless and they are nucleated. There is no hemoglobin in this. Then WBC, they are of two types, granulocytes and agranulocytes. Granulocytes, further there are three types. That is neutrophils, basophil and eosinophil. And agranulocytes, there are two types, monocytes and lymphocytes. So neutrophils, they constitute 60 to 65% of the WBC. They are the most abundant in the WBC. And basophil, they are the least in number in the of WBC. That is they may be 0.5 to 1%. And eosinophil, they constitute 2 to 3% of the blood. Neutrophils, these lymphocytes, they form the 20 to 25% of WBC. Among the WBC, the kind of lymphocytes, they are 20 to 25%. Neutrophils, along with monocytes, they are phagocytic in nature. They protect the organism from the foreign material, foreign antigens, and they paralyze them, destroy them. So they are defensive in function. Then these basophil, it releases three types of substances, histamine, heparin and serotonin, which are responsible for inflammatory actions. And this eosinophil, it resists infection and also responsible for allergic reactions. WBC count is 6,000 to 8,000 per cubic millimeter of blood. Then we come to lymphocyte. Lymphocyte, there are two types, B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte, and they are responsible, they are the immune, they provide immunity to the human being. They are responsible for the immune response. And this is all about WBC. Then we come to platelets. Platelets, they are formed by the fragmentation of megakaryotic cells present in the bone marrow. And they are responsible for blood clotting and coagulation. These platelets, they are also called thrombocytes. They contain a substance which is called as thrombin, which is responsible for the blood clotting. And also thrombin is present in the inactive stage, which is called as the prothrombin. This thrombokinase is an enzyme. It is present in the plasma, which is responsible for the activation of prothrombin into thrombin, and thrombin into is further activates fibrinogen into fibrin, and fibrin, it help in coagulation of the blood. This is all about the composition of blood. I think you might have followed it. What is lymph? Blood along with substances flows into the blood vessels. From the blood vessels, water as well as some very minute particles of substances, they come out of the blood vessels due to pressure, and they come in between the tissue. And this is also called as the tissue fluid, or it is also called as the interstitial fluid. This fluid is responsible for the transportation of substances from blood to the cellular level. And this interstitial fluid, it is also called as the tissue fluid. It is collected by the vessels, which are called as the lymph vessel. When it goes into the lymph vessel, it is called as the lymph. So lymph also help in the transportation of substances. So this is all about constitution of blood and lymph. Then we come to the grouping of blood. There are so many methods of grouping of blood, kind of blood. And the most prevalent is ABO grouping and RH grouping. What is ABO grouping? On the surface of RBC, there are present some antigens. These antigens, there are of two types, A and B. RBC and opposite to these antigens, the antibodies are present in the plasma. So, when the surface of RBC carries A antigen and it will have B antibodies in the plasma, the blood group is A. When the RBC surface carries antigen B and it will carry antibody A, the blood group is B. When the surface of RBC carries both antigen A and B, blood group is B, but in this case, in plasma, there are no antibodies. In some cases, surface of RBC is lacking antigens, but plasma is having antibodies A and B. So then group of the individual is O. Have you followed my point? To say, if RBC carries A antigen and plasma antibody B, blood group is A. If RBC carries B antigen and plasma is carrying antibodies A, blood group is B. If RBC carries A and B both antigens but no antibodies in the plasma, then the blood group is AB. If no antibodies on the RBC surface but antibodies AB are present in the plasma, then blood group is O. So you can't, there should be, when there is need of transfusion of blood from one individual to the other, there should be compatibility of the blood. You can't transfuse blood of any of the individual to the other. If the human is carrying blood A, then it will get, he needs blood, person with blood group A and blood group O can give blood to the human with blood group A. Similarly, human with blood group B, it can get blood from the person carrying blood group B or blood group O. If human is having blood group AB, so the blood can be transfused from any of the individual, that is with blood group A, with blood group B, with blood group AB and with blood group O. But O, it may be given only blood group only. So you can say AB is the universal recipient. It can take blood of any person. And O is the universal donor. It can transfuse, person with O blood group can transfer blood to any of the individual with any of the blood group. This is ABO grouping. Then is RH. What is RH? An antigen was discovered in the rhesus monkey, and later on it was found that these antigen, they were also present in the RBC of the human being. Among 80% of the individuals, they are present. These are called as RH antigens, and the human being carrying RH antigen on the RBC is RH positive because it is having RH antigen. If a human being is not carrying RH antigen, that is called as the RH negative. So accordingly, we also define the blood groups this way. A positive means with A antigens, B antibodies and RH antigens. A negative means with A antigen and B antibodies, but with no RH antigen. Similarly, you can say in case of B, in case of AP. This is all about RH negative and RH positive. RH negative and RH positive, they are also not compatible. Human being with RH negative requires blood from the RH negative person, and human being with RH positive, it will have to be transfused with the blood of RH positive person. You can see the example of a pregnant lady. If a lady is pregnant and she is the RH negative, but his baby is RH positive. In the first, what happened? The blood of the baby is separated from the blood of the mother, which is RH negative by placenta. And but at the time of delivery, what happens? Some of the antigens of the baby, that is RH positive, RH antigens, they get transferred into the blood of the mother, and antibodies are formed. RH antibodies are formed, and at the time of sex delivery, there is very risk, and there may be clumping of the blood. So it has to be injected by our antigens so that it can counteract it. This is all about grouping of the blood. I think you might have followed it. Like it, subscribe it, and share it with your friends. Have a good day.